Good morning. Welcome to the Commercial Corner. Today, we'll be interviewing Jeff Stamps. I know usually we have the other way around, but I am Josue Solis. I am the host today, and today we have this special guest who's been doing the hosting in the past, and I believe that we all have special stories, and I'm very lucky to have Jeff Stamps today. So,
thank you.
Introducing Jeff Stamps.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
So Jeff, what is your position here at Lee's?
Oh, great question. So I have rambled through the positions over the years, and as the company's grown, I've moved into different areas, and I believe I've worked in every department so far. But right now, I'm focusing on the commercial business, business development, management, public relations, building crews, trying to help out the Northern California department as well. So that's what I do.
That's awesome. So you help with the commercial side of of our HVAC business.
Yes.
Great. So with that, Jeff, I've known you for a while.
Sure.
But introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. I know you're from a small town that doesn't have roads. That's what I've heard.
Okay. So my name is Jeff, and I'm from was born and raised in Riverdale, California, which is about 25 miles south of here. I've kind of indoctrinated myself as the unofficial mayor. Went all the way through high school there, and then when Costco came to Fresno, what a lot of people don't know is when Costco decided to expand out of the Washington region, Fresno was their very first outside of Washington location. They went out here on West Shaw, and I got a job there in the tire shop. So that brought me into Fresno, and that was in the mid '80s, and I've been here ever since.
Great. Yeah. So with that, bringing you to Fresno, how did you get introduced into the HVAC industry?
Great question. So there's a local legend named Dave Robinson, and he used to have a company here in town. It's no longer here. He's moved to Virginia, but it was called Renaissance, and it was kind of one of the first companies to really look at the whole house as a product. Looking into green technologies, looking into energy savings. Way back then, and we became good friends, and he brought me on, and I've been in the industry ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So with that being brought into with Renaissance, how did you get introduced into Lee's?
Great question. So I kind of alluded to it. So when Renaissance decided to, I think I'll need to tell this little short story in order to make that make sense.
Yeah. I love stories.
So the Robinsons had one daughter, and I watched her grow up in the company. I was there 15, 16 years, something like that. But she went to Fresno State. You know how the story goes, met a boy. The boy was from back east, and he decided to go back east. She followed. Again, this was their only child. Their world was around her. And when she decided to go back there, and they got married, and when the first grandchild was on its way, they decided to follow. So they closed up shop. Didn't sell to someone else, just basically closed the shop and moved to Virginia. And the next week I was working for Lee's because I knew Brian Lee. We actually played golf together and were friends before I went over there. So it was a pretty easy transition. It's the only company I would have went to work for in the area at the time. And I think all these years later, I would probably still make that same decision. So it was a good one, still is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So in total, how many years have you been in the industry?
I was just talking to my wife about this last night or the night before. Adding it all up, we're about 32 years.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
And have you seen any changes in these last 32 years?
Yeah. Well, when I first started, all the air conditioners were made out of wood.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever worked on a wooden unit before, but it takes a lot of skill, to keep from getting splinters and making it all work. But everything's changed. Refrigerants, technology. I think one of the things that's probably for me is the biggest challenge right now is, and we were talking about it in our meeting this morning before this, is finding talent. In all of the trades in the last 10 years, it's changed. And there used to be you could find really quality talent everywhere. And now it's very, very, and I'll put another, very hard to find skill. There's a lot of these vocational schools that advertise, hey, come over 9 months, you'll have your credentials, you'll be an HVAC tech. They'll put you in a truck, you'll be making $100,000 a year, and you're set for life. And it's just not true. I won't go into that too far, but it is frustrating to me that when those guys leave school, we have to completely retrain them again. And we know this, and have invested on our own school to where we'll take those guys and then put them through another 90 days to 6 months worth of training to get them just to where they can go out and serve the community. Because you have to understand, I'm not going to send anybody to another person's home or their business with someone who doesn't have the skills to be out there representing us. Because it's just as important for the homeowner to have a good experience as it is for us to have a good experience as well. So we team up with the community to provide a service that's a win for everyone.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recognize these last 10 years, there's been a lot of changes, a lot of challenges that we faced, especially at the COVID time. I know that equipment was a big issue.
Yes, it was.
And I mean, we've come across a lot of different things. Equipment, labor, skilled labor. Right now, I know we're in the process of renewing our insurance, and there's just so many things that we have to consider now. And with that, I know that you've been in different roles with us. Mm-hmm. You've done the commercial side, you've done the residential side. And tell us a little bit more about your experience on the residential side. How do commercial customers differ from residential customers?
Sure. It's a completely different ball game. I call it short game and long game. So with commercial, we usually start by entering into a relationship with a new building or a new customer with maintenance and going out and evaluating and just kind of letting them know what their building is. And then it kind of evolves into a trust factor, and then we continue to take care of them. So I would say one of the interesting things is we have a lot of buildings that we've been taking care of since the 90s, and we just go out there every quarter and take care of them. And we all know each other by our first names, and we take care of each other, and those are great relationships. In residential, and let me back up. In commercial, there's usually a facility manager or a property manager, somebody who's in charge of the day-to-day, and it's, again, long-term, so it's not as emotional of a situation. Usually dollars are budgeted. They know they're going to have to, upgrade things. And when we bring it to their attention, or they ask us to start a new project for them, it's different than, in residential. Residential, people's homes are, their biggest asset in most cases. And the cost of equipment has skyrocketed since COVID. The cost of labor quality labor has gone up, but the mindsets in residential is it's still $10,000 to do your unit, whereas in a lot of cases we have to pay that much just for the equipment. So residential is very emotional because a lot of times it's all the money they have, or they have to go into financing, a lot of different things to take care of their home, and it's a stressful situation, and we do our best to help them through it. And we don't really experience that on the commercial side, and that's probably the biggest difference. On commercial, bigger equipment, bigger dollars, less urgency, less emergency. Whereas think about this last summer on the residential side, 'cause I'm always watching it and paying attention. We were dealing with historical heat, and being able to, and we were literally helping people out the same day we went out there. We'd be out there in the morning, and we would be installing their equipment that same day. And I'm pretty darn proud of our team to be able to build that system to where that's taking care of people. On the residential side, in most cases, like we'll take this building we're in here, for example, there's probably 5 or 6 units up there, and if one goes down, it needs to be done, but it's not going to be an absolute emergency today. So they got time to work through the budgeting process and the approval process, and gives us a time to find equipment, because like you mentioned, it's hard to find. On the commercial side, equipment is very difficult to find, and because there's multiple voltages, multiple tonnages, different types of equipment, where residential, it doesn't change a whole lot. The residential, from house to house to house, they're all about the same. Some people want higher efficiency. Some people, aren't ready to do that yet, and that's really the only change there is, the efficiencies and the urgency. Whereas in commercial, we have a lot more parameters we have to look at in order to make the process work.
Got it. Yeah, super helpful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, obviously, it's been really hot these last
It
couple of
has
days.
been, yes.
And for us, educating the customer is very important. And when you were on the residential side, what were some things you were constantly having to educate customers on, or some myths you had to combat?
Sure. Great question. One of the issues we ran into a lot, and I always researched the home before I went, and this is a pretty shocking statistic. I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of 40, upwards of 50% of the houses out there have an undersized unit on it, married to an undersized duct system. And when homeowners are looking to replace their unit, very rarely are they aware that their ductwork is also undersized, and that could have been the reason why they're replacing their unit, because the unit has been struggling to work and in the home with an undersized duct system. It's kind of like drinking a milkshake through a straw. You'll get it done, but it's hard work. Your unit, from the day it was installed, if it was undersized with poor ductwork, poor insulation, poor windows, I call that a loose house. It was never going to last. And customers are surprised by that, because they usually expect them to, the 25-year number pops up a lot. They expected to get 25 years, or they already have on their older equipment, etc. But one of the things that we try to do is give a whole house assessment. That's what I did anyway. It doesn't make any sense to put a brand new unit on and tie it to a duct system that's leaky and undersized. I kind of compare it to buying a new pair of shoes and leaving your old dirty socks on. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
At some point it's going to bother you. And so, we have to look at that. Whereas on the commercial side, the duct systems aren't nearly as important. Well, important's not the right word. Aren't as big a factor in processing the transaction. Commercial, it's more above the roof line, whereas residential, there's a lot of commentary, observation, evaluation below the roof line. So we have to, even the way that the city evaluates the permitting process is completely different, residential versus commercial. I don't know if a lot of people are aware of that. On the residential side, the city is looking at it like this may be our one and only time to make sure this house is safe. So they're going to want to look at the electrical panel to make sure it's safe. They're going to want to make sure that there's smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. And I agree with all that. And the reason for it is simply to where that there is never a fire truck parked out in front of that house because somebody installed that system, didn't permit it, and nobody checked all those things out. And it's an uphill battle for us, because I want to be careful with the statistics, so I won't even say it, but there is a small amount of contractors that permit everything. There's a large amount of contractors that don't.
Why is that? Why do you think there's that gap?
Very simple. Very simply, when you're pulling a permit, you're expected to do this level of work. If you don't pull a permit, you can actually do this level of work, and the homeowner would never know it. And we're just not going to do that. It's the wrong thing to do, and that's just not the world we live in. If nobody's going to come out and check the electrical panel, to check the duct work, to check the smoke detectors, to check if it was installed correctly, yes, they can be cheaper, but it's never a better decision for the homeowner to allow their home to be put in jeopardy like that, in my opinion.
Got it. Yeah. HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, air conditioning, right? And a lot of people only think about the heating and the air conditioning, don't think about the ventilation. Mm-hmm. And that's a main component that helps the lifespan of the unit. And if you're not monitoring that, or if you're not maintaining your HVAC system, I mean, it leads to a lot of premature wear and tear, right?
Right.
So duct systems. I mean, I rarely go into my attic. I really don't see the duct system. The only thing I see all the time is when I'm on my lawn outside and see my condensing unit. That's all I see, right? So obviously we live in the valley. It's a lot of dirt, a lot of dust everywhere. Sometimes questions that we get asked when I listen to the calls that come in is duct cleaning. And tell me a little bit about duct cleaning, what it is, and if it's a good source, a good service to provide.
I'm going to go into that. I'm going to follow up that last little piece with one little important thing. If you look at it like this, air conditioning is one of the few things that you can buy that's not complete. So if you even can go down and buy an air conditioning unit, what are you going to do next? You have to hook up refrigerant, you have to hook up electrical, you have to hook up ductwork, combustion, gas. All of these things have to be connected. So that's why you want to have a professional that's doing it correctly and that it's inspected. Because you can have 3 identical houses and have 3 different level of contractors install it and have 3 different performance levels at the end. And it's not always about the money. It's about getting it done correctly. So just to kind of add that on. One of the things that you're asking about is ductwork. So let's talk about that a little bit. Duct cleaning, ductwork, etc. So we get asked a lot about duct cleaning. And I've stood on this for as long as I've been in my career, and it's still true today. If your ductwork has reached a point to where it needs to be cleaned, it needs to be replaced. So you said you've been up in your attic maybe a few times, whatever. You notice you have the big flexible ductwork in there. The only way to clean that is to bring in an oscillating brush and run it through there, and it's going to do more damage to your ductwork that you may not even know about after the company leaves than before they even got there. If you notice that grill in your hallway, you replace your filters, so it's sucking air in, and your supplies that go to all the rooms are blowing air out. So all that ductwork is always under a positive pressure. So there really isn't air being sucked into those ducts to make them dirty. For the most part, the return side that's pulling in, if your filters are clean and you're taking care of that, you're not really going to get much dirt in there. But if the ductwork is going to get dirty, it's going to be on the return side. A lot of people call it the intake return. That needs to be looked at, and that we replace on every unit for that very reason. But on the supply side, it usually is never needed, but if it is, we're going to recommend replacing the ductwork because it's the right thing to do. Remember the dirty sock thing? Yeah. So I saw a duct cleaning advertisement from a competitor on television last night, and it was interesting to me because it was a square duct, and it showed the machine working in there as a square metal duct. There's maybe 1% of the houses in the San Joaquin Valley that have square metal ductwork in it. It's not square. It's not metal. It's not designed to be cleaned. That's a commercial duct. So, but it plants a seed in people's mind. Oh, my ductwork is like that too, and it's just not. Most of the houses have a flexible duct system. The only ones that have a metal duct system in it are duct systems that have been in there since the 60s and 70s. And they've been in there for 50 years. So going in and cleaning those are also risky and a liability as well. A lot of people don't know they have their whole duct systems made out of the same material that dryer vents are made out of, that flexible aluminum stuff. There's also some other ductwork out there that's called fiberboard, which is literally no liner in it at all. It's just fiberglass shaped in a round tube. None of that stuff can be cleaned. The newer flex duct, it's designed to live 20 years and be replaced, just like a lot of things are today. So a lot of words to say. Be very careful about having somebody to come out and clean your ductwork. It's going to be more, in my opinion, more of a dog and pony show than it is going to be a value for your dollar spent.
Yeah, great. No, yeah. I mean, there's just so many things that go into it, right? And the duct system, probably one of the most important parts, just because that's where all the air comes out, right? And if you have a tear in your duct system,
Right.
I mean, you're just cooling your attic and all that stuff, and that's why you need a thorough evaluation, right? That's why we always ask to get attic access. That's all we always ask, to making sure that we can look at every single thing.
Well, any duct system that was installed pre-1990 is going to be undersized. Just what I was in the industry and what we were doing back then to calculate duct work, we didn't know any better. And we've learned a lot over the last, 30 years that ducts need to be larger. They need to be able to move more air so that we're eliminating static. And static is drag. So, as the air is being forced down the duct, it's being pushed. There's force this way, but it's also being forced against the sides of the ducts as well. All of the newer ductwork is the flexible duct. It has a spiral wire in it. So as the duct's being pushed forward by the blower motor, it's also being pushed sideways, and there's a lot of drag on it. So the ductwork needed to be bigger back then. So there's a lot of homes. I've recently replaced mine, and that's what I had. I had what would have been considered by a lot of people, if they went up and looked at it, oh yeah, your ductwork's fine. But because I have the ability to test it, and we did a load calculation on it, and I had a 5-ton unit on my roof, but I was only able to deliver about 3.5 tons worth of air because of the ductwork size. And that's something you need a professional to calculate and determine for you. It's all math, and it's math, and it's air pressure, and air pressure and volumes and cubic feet of air per minute. I've talked about it in my blog a little bit, especially during this heat. Units are designed at the factory, all of them. 95 degrees is the benchmark. So if a unit is built for 95 degrees, because it's going to get used in all 48 states, same unit, most of the states never experience the volume of heat that we do here. So, but when we're in that pocket, they don't make a special unit just for us. They don't make a special unit for Phoenix, for parts of South Texas, Florida. It's the same unit. So we have a unit that's designed for 95 degrees, and it's going to be 110 today. So every degree over 95 that house is having to take on and help keep you cool is degrading the unit. So by the time you get up to 110 degrees, that 5-ton unit with that undersized duct system that's already only doing 3.5, now may only be doing 2.5 to 3 tons worth of work. And then the questions come in like, my goodness, why is my unit running all day? Because it has to, in order to keep you cool. And that's kind of a hidden little mystery that doesn't get talked about a lot. But even if your system is perfect, it's going to struggle on a 110 degree day. You've heard them. We get the calls. People come in and say, I can't get my unit down past 72 degrees, past 73. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself when I hear that call, well, I can't either. And I have my system dialed in. It's because it's just not capable of overcoming that thermodynamic rule that we have experience of, heat going to cold. So it's just the nature of the beast. So a lot of words to say. You really, really want to have a professional look at your duct system and make sure it's sized correctly, and stay away from cleaning it if at all possible.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that's 32 years of experience right here, right, in this podcast. So with that, tell us, what has been one of your favorite moments being in the industry?
Favorite moments is watching when a technician's light goes off and they get it, and they realize that they are making a difference and they're helping people. We talk a lot around here about serving our community, our coworkers, and serving people, and it's been true since the day I got here. That helping people, and we have a lot of movement in our industry. There are a lot of, I call them transit workers. They go here. Oh well, I want greener grass, so I'm going to go here. Oh well, let's try greener grass, so they go here. And I've noticed we've got a lot of guys that have done that, but they get here and they think, oh wow, this is where I wanted. This is the greener grass, and watching that technician stay and learn and flourish and become an integral part of our team and helping our growth is probably the most exciting thing to me. I do know that we have people that even after they've been here, they decide to make another shift, and it is remarkable how many of those people call us back and say, "Wow, can I come back?" Because there's a lot of people that that go, it's the ugly truth that somebody offers them $1 and they leave, or offer them $2 more an hour, and the truth be told, that can make a big difference in a lot of people's lives. So I get it, but I like the fact that we have a lot of long-term people here because we offer a place where they can grow and really feel valuable, and that's probably the thing that excites me the most about this place.
That's awesome. Well, You're very valuable.
Thank you.
I do want to conclude with a question.
Sure.
And the question I want to conclude with is, why do you do what you do?
I like to solve problems. I like to help people, and I understand the industry. So I know if the problem or the question comes to me, that I'm going to be able to give the correct answer, and I hope always with integrity, to where that I can I don't have to play games with people, and I can help them. So I want to help people at the end of the day. That's what drives me. I get up early, come down here every morning to be in a position to help somebody today, and that's simple as that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that can apply outside of Lee's, right?
Absolutely.
And no, I think here the culture that we have is serve people.
Yes.
Right? That's our mission. And
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to this
thanks
podcast?
for having me. It was I will say the disclaimer is I had no idea what he was going to talk to me about today, and each one of those topics I could have gone on for another half an hour on, but I don't want to get too technical. But please understand, this is very technical industry that we're in. The science that's going on inside that air conditioning. We literally have refrigerant that's boiling at one point and is sub-zero at another point, and we're able to harness it at that exact moment, 51 degrees, in order to push it down your ductwork. That's hopefully sized correctly and make it in your house is magic. And there needs to be a more spotlight on the science, but maybe that'll happen on another day.
Yeah, actually, a story I want to hear was about the roof incident that you had a long time ago. But that'll be for another podcast.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining, and hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.